It started with a routine burglary call, but what police discovered behind the doors of GloRilla's Memphis home turned into something far more shocking than anyone could have imagined. Flashing lights, chaos and confusion filled the street, but inside that house was a scene that left even the officers speechless. This wasn't just a break-in, it was a turning point in a scandal that has now spiraled into something much darker. Fans were already reeling from the rumors, but nothing could prepare them for what came next. And then came the moment no one saw coming. Gospel singer and pastor Deitrick Haddon, usually reserved and tight-lipped, broke his silence. What he said not only confirmed some of the whispers, but sent shockwaves through the church and entertainment world alike. His words weren't just emotional, they were explosive, calling out hypocrisy, hidden sins, and secrets the public was never supposed to hear. In this video, we're peeling back the layers of this unfolding drama, exposing the truth behind the headlines, and revealing how deep this controversy truly runs. You're not going to believe how these two worlds just collided and what it means for GloRilla's future. When police were called to GloRilla's Memphis residence for what seemed like a standard burglary report, no one, not even the officers, expected the night to take a sharp left turn. Reports quickly began swirling across social media, rumors of illegal substances, people in cuffs, and shocking discoveries that the public was never meant to know. And just as the internet began buzzing with questions and outrage, gospel icon Pastor Deitrick Haddon dropped a response that threw even more fuel on the fire. Now, we're peeling back the layers of this tangled situation, the surprising connection between a rap superstar and a respected pastor, how it all went down behind closed doors, and what it means for both their reputations going forward. Trust me, you won't believe the twist in this story, especially when we break down exclusive insider details, police reports, and public statements that weren't covered in the headlines. Stay with us, because in just a moment, we're diving deep into everything you weren't told about the raid, the arrest, and Pastor Haddon's unexpected message to the world. You're not going to believe how these two worlds collided or the chaos that exploded as a result. When police responded to what seemed like a routine burglary call at GloRilla's Memphis home, no one, not even the responding officers, was prepared for what they were about to uncover. Within minutes, rumors began spreading like wildfire. Reports of illegal substances, shocking evidence, and unexpected arrests turned a quiet night into front-page drama. But what truly stunned everyone was the involvement of a man no one expected: gospel legend and pastor Deitrick Haddon. Just as fans began demanding answers, Pastor Haddon dropped a statement that not only acknowledged the controversy but poured gasoline on the fire. In this video, we're unraveling the jaw-dropping connection between a rising rap icon and one of the most respected figures in gospel music. From hidden alliances and explosive police reports to insider confessions and the twist no one predicted, this isn't just another celebrity scandal. This is a reputational storm that could change everything for both men involved. Get ready, because what we're about to reveal will leave you speechless. It gets dirty and real at this point. When cops invaded rapper GloRilla's home late last week after receiving a 911 call indicating a potential burglary in progress, mayhem broke out in Memphis. It soon became evident, however, that this was not your normal break-in when the police arrived on the scene. When police arrived on the scene, they discovered a number of people inside the house who at first claimed to be visitors, according to law enforcement sources. However, contradictions in their accounts quickly sparked suspicion. Strong smells, dubious packing, and what they said was illegal behavior occurring within the house were all reported by the officers. What started off as a burglary investigation swiftly turned into a full-fledged raid as backup was called within minutes. At the scene, several people were taken into custody. Even though GloRilla was allegedly not home for the first sweep, she was later taken in for interrogation after coming home and being oblivious to the events taking place in real time. Even worse, officials found objects they say are connected to a criminal investigation that is still continuing. Although they haven't made all the specifics public yet, there is conjecture that this might be connected to previous affiliations. The timing of GloRilla's attempts to disassociate herself couldn't be worse. GloRilla has been increasing in number, praised for her breakthrough singles and unrepentant demeanor. However, her entire career may suddenly be on the line when media labeled her house a crime scene. However, a totally unexpected name joined the conversation just when everyone felt the drama couldn't grow any deeper. At that point, Pastor Deitrick Haddon took action. the Grammy-nominated gospel musician, contentious church leader, and reality TV personality. Pastor Deitrick Haddon didn't mince words while addressing the incident, shocking both his followers and GloRilla's admirers. Pastor Haddon sent a daring, uncensored statement on social media within hours of the story becoming viral, dividing many. It is impossible to play both sides. You will either walk with purpose or be pulled along by the confusion of the world. There is more to GloRilla's predicament than just her. It concerns a generation that has been duped by celebrity and has forgotten its roots, he said in a video that has gone viral. At first, Haddon didn't specifically address GloRilla, but the message was obvious. He highlighted how modern artists are falling into what he called spiritual traps, fame, wealth, and careless relationships that ultimately lead to their demise. What heightened the controversy around his response? He accused pastors of keeping quiet rather than intervening when they saw musicians in decline, blaming not only the hip-hop scene but also the black church. Where are the leaders? Where are the folks who were meant to guide these youths before they were taken by the streets? The first is not GloRilla, but she won't be the last, Haddon said, if we continue to ignore them. The reaction was quick. His audacity was commended by some admirers, who claimed he was voicing the truth that others were too scared to tell. He was criticized by others for pursuing influence when someone else was at their lowest. But his words had an impact that no one could dispute, no matter where they stood. Insiders further claimed that this was not a haphazard message. This may have struck close to home because Haddon is said to have connections to a former GloRilla associate. Now, many are wondering if his response is more than just spiritual worry. Did he expose her, or was he warning her? GloRilla herself was eerily silent as the internet erupted with responses, interviews, and lectures from all sides. No remarks, no Instagram stories, no tweets, just total online quiet. And that meant a lot for someone as outspoken and confident as GloRilla. Insiders close to her network, however, claimed that her quiet wasn't motivated by fear. It was a calculated action. Her management and legal team quickly told her to keep quiet until they could fully assess the extent of the impact. She was astonished. According to a source, she wasn't prepared for the criticism to be that severe. A number of her prospective commercial collaborations, including a reported collaboration with a prominent fashion company that aimed to include her in a campaign focused on women's empowerment, were reportedly placed on hold. Furthermore, following the scandal, other gospel musicians who had previously supported her swiftly started removing their posts or unfollowing her. Her staff was in full damage control mode behind the scenes, conducting meetings, revising PR plans, and seeking advice from legal and image gurus. Her career wasn't the only thing at stake. Her reputation needed to be saved, not to mention the church community, which gradually warmed up to GloRilla after she started speaking out about God and even gave a few gospel-related performances. That nascent support soon began to fall apart. One church leader wrote anonymously that she attempted to live in two different worlds. She is now coming to the realization that you cannot serve two masters. Days later, GloRilla was spotted in Los Angeles with her security detail, dressed in a hooded jacket and dark shades. Despite the turmoil all around her, her name was yelled by paparazzi. When fans requested pictures, she remained silent. Her publicist has yet to issue a statement, a press release, an apology, or an explanation. Fans are divided on this. Some are standing up for her, arguing that her one error is causing her to be unfairly criticized. Others are calling for responsibility, particularly in light of the video and Pastor Haddon's widely shared response. The fact that a prominent entertainment insider revealed that GloRilla is working on a song that quietly but explicitly tackles the situation is even more startling. If accurate, this might be her attempt to retake the story or stoke the fires. Will she let the music do the talking, or will she publicly express her opinions? The most surprising aftershock struck where no one was expecting it. While the GloRilla issue raged on social media, everyone had something to say within the church, from the pulpit to the pews. And what began as an online argument swiftly escalated into a full-fledged civil war among Christians and the gospel. Several well-known gospel musicians and church leaders swiftly called for public accountability and repentance, separating themselves from both GloRilla and Deitrick Haddon. During a live stream, a megachurch pastor who asked to be anonymous didn't hold back. The times we live in are characterized by wolves masquerading as sheep. This is the result of allowing the profane to enter sacred territory without discernment, confusion, shame, and embarrassment. The issue also involved well-known gospel performers including Tamala Mann, Leonard, and Tasha Cobbs, not for taking part but for keeping quiet. Fans flocked to their comment sections, urging them to either draw the line or speak out. It became evident that GloRilla was no longer the only focus of this. It has to do with the church's reputation. A number of younger worship leaders and preachers, meantime, defended GloRilla by arguing that the church ought to be more accepting and forgiving rather than critical. When a young Atlanta pastor said, "Jesus sat with sinners," it went viral. He was not critical of them. Would you serve GloRilla if she came to your church? Or would you dismiss her at the door due to her attire or dancing style? Remembering where we all came from is important. It turned into a generational conflict. Traditional gospel followers and older pastors desired a clear division between church purity and secular influence. However, the younger generation, many of whom were exposed to GloRilla's music and grew up on hip-hop, saw this as a chance to reach out and develop bridges. It wasn't just words that created tension. Because they could not support someone who encouraged disdain for the sacred, some churches even went so far as to cancel their engagements with Deitrick Haddon. We adore Deitrick, but he made a huge mistake with this one. According to one choir director, he's forgotten who his audience is. As if things couldn't get any more dramatic. Screenshots of fan forums, church organizations, and even ministry boards discussing whether or not Christian venues should completely prohibit musicians like GloRilla started to circulate. It was no longer a matter of preference. It was a battlefield of the soul. The most important question of all, though, is whether this controversy has permanently harmed GloRilla's reputation as a crossover figure in religious circles, or is she able to find atonement in some way, either by offering an apology or by having a more in-depth discussion. Where do GloRilla and Deitrick Haddon go from here? Was the most pressing question that remained after all the controversy, media, and religious opposition. Can they get their careers back on track? Is the church going to forget and forgive? Or is this the last nail in the coffin for the uncomfortable fling that the gospel has had with hip-hop culture? First, let's talk about GloRilla. GloRilla fell silent immediately after. Not even a cryptic tweet, no clapback, no answer. Her quiet was deliberate and deafening. Insiders claimed that her staff went into full damage control, rewriting her PR strategy for future partnerships and even canceling a few engagements that were oriented around church. Here's the twist though. According to insiders, GloRilla had actually been in discussions to release a song with a spiritual subject, one that was influenced by her heritage, her hardships, and even her grandmother's religious beliefs. That railroad was likely placed on hold indefinitely. According to a source in the industry, Glo was about to deliver a significant message. She wished to address both the church and the streets. But all of that momentum was ruined by this incident. Her following base persisted in spite of the criticism, particularly among Gen Z, who view her as an unvarnished, unadulterated voice of the people. However, a lot of Christians think her brand is now too contentious for worship festivals or gospel stages. What about Haddon, Deitrick? It was more than a messy moment. This might turn out to be a career-ending error. People are now questioning his legacy as a gospel innovator who connected spiritual principles with urban sounds. Several preachers who previously supported his inventiveness now feel deceived. Videos of his previous lectures being analyzed for contradictions are widely shared on social media. Some are even demanding that he be excluded from panel talks on faith and entertainment, as well as worship conventions. In just 2 days, the Gospel Music Association allegedly got over 2,000 calls and letters requesting that they sever their relationship with Deitrick for supporting blasphemy. Deitrick was harmed by more than simply the criticism, though. It was the feeling that he had forsaken his roots in favor of viral moments above spiritual obligations. According to a gospel radio DJ, he made an effort to be relevant, but relevance devoid of reverence is meaningless. However, other followers came together in support of him, claiming that he had good intentions and wished to bring someone from the outside into God's house. They contend that the church ought to be a place of healing rather than shame, and that perhaps, just possibly, those who already had a problem with hip-hop culture exaggerated the situation. But isn't that the true topic of discussion here? A major wound that has been festering within the church for years was made public by this controversy. The fight to embrace artists like GloRilla without bringing disorder into the sanctuary, to welcome the broken without compromising the sacred, and to strike a balance between tradition and technology. One viral video isn't all that matters. Who gets to claim the church is at issue? Who defines worship is at issue? It concerns whether the gospel will advance or regress. At the heart of it all is a young woman who danced joyfully in a church, despite likely never having imagined that she would be accepted there. Was it not in order? Perhaps. However, it spurred a discussion that the church sorely needed.